Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Devlin by Angela K. Parker, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Evelyn. If you stare harder, I'll start to sink in. My eyes snap to Devlin's, and he stares at me expectantly, waiting for a response. Devlin Hughes is one of the brand managers at M&S Toys with me. He's smart and handsome, but he's also the biggest pain in my life. When Devlin and I first met, I wanted him for myself, but it didn't take long to figure out that my thinking was all wrong on so many levels. One day, to be exact. From the moment he opened his mouth, I knew there was something about him that would spark a fire in me. And as he spoke that first day, my friendly fire turned to rage. All thoughts of us flew out the window. He would have been perfect had he not said anything, and my fantasy would still be alive. If your ego gets any bigger, it will burst, I fire back. I am not in the mood for Devlin today. He never uses the break room at work. I'm convinced someone put him on this earth to annoy me. The only reason I came in here was for a little peace. My relationship of 5 years has been on thin ice for the past year, and the argument I had with John this morning was the pick that finally broke it. He packed his things and left me with a mix of emotions. I didn't know whether to be relieved or upset. Since I came to work, I've settled on a healthy serving of pissed, and Devlin landed on the wrong side of my plate. My ego is just fine, Devlin says with a slick smirk and a wink. He turns his body to face me, leaning against the tall table across from me and crossing his legs at the ankles. I glance down below his waist and back up without thinking, and he chuckles. I'm in a report to HR mood today, and it wouldn't be fair after what I just did. My stupid eyes. His stupid good looks. Your ego? Ugh. You know what, Devlin? I can't do this with you today. I can't even come up with a way to come back after glancing at his ego, which is substantial, might I add. He'd be just the cure for my month-long dry spell if I didn't loathe his womanizing ways as I do. It's a wonder how our work relationship is on point, but as soon as work is off the table, all bets are off. Devlin eyes me curiously. Then he walks over to my table and sits across from me. I can see that you're in a mood. I roll my eyes at him. I'm not in a mood, I snapped. You're in a mood, Devlin says, and I have just the cure. Are you reading my mind? I lean forward a fraction, balling the hand on my lap while my other hand pauses on the handle of my coffee mug. Whatever cure you think you have, Devlin, it's not for me. I'm not blind to the variety of women he's had over the years, and I refuse to be one of them. Look, I just got out of a relationship. The last thing I need is another problem. You have me all wrong, Eve. The last thing I want is to swap spit and do unspeakable things with you. Devlin smiles, wiggling his eyebrows. Even when he's trying to be serious. He's not. You look like you could use a pick-me-up. I'm merely suggesting that we go out for drinks after work. You can even invite the ex if you should miraculously patch things up before tonight. We could even discuss the project if you're worried about content. I want to ask him what he means by unspeakable things, but I'm slightly annoyed that he doesn't want to sleep with me. My mind is all types of screwed up, and I want to blame it on John, but I'm not sure he's the problem in this instance. That is not a good idea. Are you afraid that you won't be able to hold your composure? Devlin lifts an eyebrow, and I do the same. I get it. I'm a lot to take in, but you've held your own well while working together. Surely you're not bothered by being alone with me. Challenge accepted. He's right. I need a pick-me-up, and I would be secretly enjoying this cat and mouse game we've been playing if it weren't for my ex. I'm in. I lift my mug to my mouth, taking a long sip while peering at him over the top and wondering what I'm getting myself into. Devlin is double with a capital T, and I'm asking for it. I've never had a workday that flew by so fast. Before I realized the time, it was 5:08, and I glanced up at my doorway to the sound of Devlin's smooth voice. Any word from the ex yet? Devlin asked, his full frame practically covering the entrance to my office. Huh? I responded, confused by his sudden appearance. The ex, is he tagging along? Devlin raised a brow. I'd forgotten about Devlin's offer to invite John, mainly because there was no chance of us getting back together. No, it's just us. I clear my throat at the intimacy of the word us. It's just you and me. Devlin chuckles. In that case, I'll pick you up from your place in an hour. He turns to leave. Wait, I call after him, and he turns back toward me. How do you know where I live? Devlin shrugs. I followed you home one night, he answered. Then he's gone, leaving me with my mouth hanging open. Creep, I mutter. Creep that I just agreed to have drinks with. For some reason, that excites me. Does that make me a creep too? I shook the thought and finished the task I was working on. Then I gathered my belongings and left. The closer I got to home as I drove, my anticipation spiked with each turn of the tires. John is the only man I've been with outside of work for half a decade, and I chose Devlin to pop that cherry. My home feels a little less crowded when I step inside. There's not one physical trace of John in my sight, although the memories are still fresh in my mind in every room. I ignore them. I spent most of my time since John left wondering where we went wrong, and this house doesn't help matters when I'm trying to forget. It will get easier as time passes, but tonight is not that night. I want to wash my brain out for even thinking about it, but I'm glad Devlin invited me out. Maybe he will surprise me and won't be as bad as I think he is. My best friend Holland would flip if he knew I agreed to go out with Devlin, even if it was innocent. I take my black 4-inch heels off, thinking about changing out of the silver and black dress I'm wearing. Then I put them back on, deciding against it. The last thing I need is Devlin thinking I made an effort for him. I walk slowly to the front door when the bell rings and open it after peering outside. Devlin is still in his work attire, gray suit pants and a white buttoned-up long-sleeve shirt with a gray tie. The only thing missing is his gray jacket. I guess we had the same idea. Something about that makes me smile. It makes this feel less like a date. You're early, I notice, focusing on Devlin's eyes because looking elsewhere is out of the question. I made that mistake earlier, and the last thing I need to think about is the log between his legs. The early bird always gets the worm, Devlin says with a wink. His eyes rise to look over my shoulder, making me feel exposed. I feel like he can see everything that happened inside my home, everything I don't want the world to know. I'm ready if you are, I said, drawing his eyes to mine. Eager. I like that, Devlin says smugly. What's that supposed to mean? Devlin shrugs. That's an enticing quality, just how I like my women. Let's get one thing straight before we go, I quip, crossing my arms over my chest. This does not make me one of your women. Got it? Got it, Devlin grins. Besides, you're not my type. I hate it when he says stuff like that. It makes me want to test his theory just to prove him wrong. I'll meet you in the car, I said, pretending to be unfazed by his comment. Devlin chuckles as he walks away towards his Benz while I grab my purse and lock up. A couple of minutes later, I settle onto the passenger seat of Devlin's car, aware that he's watching my every move. I look at Devlin to ask what he's staring at, but the words are trapped in my throat. I got caught up in his gaze, entranced in his darkness. I've looked into his deep brown eyes before, but he never looked at me the way he did at that moment before. Devlin's expression changes quickly, and I wonder if I imagined it. Buckle up, Eve. It's going to be a wild ride, Devlin says, keeping his eyes on me for a few seconds longer than before turning away. I look away from him, too, thinking I need to get a grip. Where are we going anyway? I ask, pulling the seatbelt across my shoulder and buckling it. Devlin glances at me as he pulls away, and I realize I should have asked the question before getting into his car. Have you ever not been in control, Eve? I turn my head toward Devlin, and a smile curves his lips. Have you? I'm too cowardly to ask what he means, so I face forward again. A long, quiet pause stretches between us until I can't stand it any longer. Do you mind? I ask, gesturing to the radio. Be my guest. Devlin stops at a light while I flip through stations. A few seconds later, a horn blows behind us, alarming me. When I look up, there are more than a few feet between us and the car ahead. Devlin pulls off, and I ask, Did you fall asleep at the wheel? Maybe you should let me drive. Devlin gives me a half smile, glancing my way and back on the road. There you go again with your control issues. I don't have issues, I said through gritted teeth. I settle on a station when I stumble upon one of my favorites. Usually I'd sing along, but not today, not while Devlin is in earshot. I turn the music up, a clear sign that I don't want to engage in the conversation now, and gaze out the passenger window. We travel through 2 more stoplights before Devlin turns it down a city street. I rest my head on the seat and close my eyes, thinking about John and how screwed up we had become. Should have ended things months ago when he started to pull away. I loved John, but I wasn't in love with him. The only reason I didn't end our relationship was that I loved my comfort zone. It was simpler to stay in it than to start over, and look at me now. I'm starting over. I remain quiet and keep my eyes closed for the rest of the drive. We're here, Devlin announced minutes later. My eyes ease open as I stretch my arms in front of me. Where exactly is here? I ask, staring as Devlin drives into an open garage. I look back, attempting to glimpse my surroundings, but all I can see is a crisp white cement driveway outlined with grass that looks too green to be real. I inhale a breath as the garage door traps us inside under the cover of darkness. I look at Devlin for an explanation, and his eyes seem to glisten as he stares back at me. Where are we, Devlin? I thought we were going out for drinks, I said, slightly annoyed and panicked. Sure, I see Devlin for hours on end practically every day, and sure, we've worked on many projects together, but I don't know him. For all I know, he could be a murderer, and I didn't tell anyone where I was going or who I would be with. Do you trust me? Devlin asks, and my eyes widen. Hell no, I don't trust you. Maybe if you had taken me to a bar like a normal person instead of bringing me here. My arms flail toward the windshield. Eve, Devlin says smoothly, catching my wrist in midair. Relax. Let me take the reins. If only just once, ditch your comfort zone and venture with me. I love his words. Why do I love his words? Why do I appreciate the silk of his voice? Come on, Devlin continues, releasing my wrist. I promise there are drinks inside better than any place I could have taken you. Trust me, you will be satisfied. He opens his door and steps out of the car, closing it behind him. He walks over to the house door, using his key to open it, and then steps inside, leaving me in the dark with my mouth hung open again.